Hello, and welcome to today's edition of Route 664, The Road to Human Kindness. I want to tell you something very important. We've launched something huge. Discovery 664 Academy's podcast is now live on Spotify. Tune in every week for expert tips and insider knowledge on how charitable giving can supercharge your financial future. Don't miss out. Go to Spotify, search for Discovery 664 Academy, and hit the subscribe button. Get ready for a wealth of actionable insights in every episode. If you're not following us on social media yet, now's the time. Join the community on Instagram at Discovery 664 Academy. What are you waiting for? Let's grow together. And when we grow together, we make a better world. And that's what Endow America is all about. We want to endow America. We want to make America changed from an indebted America to an endowed America. And we do that by endowing each individual. Everybody's responsible for themselves. You make your own endowment, and then your promise is that you'll pass it on to charity when you die. If you do that, you'll have lower taxes while you're alive. Most people don't know that bargain exists, but it's been there since 1969 in those sections of the code, primarily Section 664. We call it the theory of social sociality, where social sociality is 664 equals E squared, 664 being the section of the code, and E squared is endowment squared, one endowment for yourself while you're alive to keep you well funded during your entire lifetime, and then when you pass that on to either charity or you can pass it on to a beneficiary before that, but you have that choice. That's the beauty of 664. It's a lot different than Social Security. Social Security is where you've contributed all this money into your endowment building fund with the government, and if you pass away one day after you've reached retirement age and you don't have a family, it all disappears into the government's ether. With 664, whatever you've created, you get to pass on into the community the way you see fit. And if we all do that, we can have great communities. We can have free hospitals, free daycare centers, free adult care centers. Everything can be funded by endowment, but it takes time to do that. Unfortunately, they didn't start in 1969, but we're starting now. And we're doing that with the Academy. It's one of the things that we're teaching in Discovery 664 Academy is how to use the theory of social security. It's all about building income, and income is very important. My guest today is Steve Selengut. Steve is the author of Retirement Money Secrets, a way to change your investment focus to one that emphasizes income production and shows you how to routinely generate more spending money for yourself when you need it year after year. My guest in doing this for many years. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, Les. Nice
Nice.
to nice to be here and nice to learn about 664 a little bit, which I was totally unaware of.
Good, good. That's what we want to do. We want to educate the public and the advisors and the nonprofits how to use this so that we have a better world. That's what human kindness is all about. People being able to be kind. So tell me a little bit about your practice. I had a chance to look through your book a little bit, and it really tracks what we talk about when we're talking about endowment. In a sense,
Mhm.
you're looking to produce that in a way. So tell me what the secrets are to doing that.
It all boils down to a focus with regard to investment portfolios. Most people grow up in a 401k world these days. That's their only experience with investing until they get older, not to my age, but older. And many of them don't know what a stock is. They couldn't tell you what a stock is versus a bond or anything else, but they know they have this lump of money in a 401k and that when they retire, they can transfer this into an IRA and then start spending it.
Hmm.
But neither the 401k nor most people's IRAs are really built to generate an income to help with that retirement. Instead, the general wisdom in the financial community is, well, you can expect to use 4% of your market value every year. So by the time you die, 25 years from now, a little longer because the market goes up most of the time, it'll be almost gone, but it'll take care of you. My approach is really totally different from that. It's an approach that says there's no reason why these characters can't produce more than 4% income for you. so that you can spend that 4% out of your own earnings. If you make more than 4%, you can reinvest it and build that capital base you have. And then when the time comes to say goodbye, you can do something with the with that money, and
Mm-hmm.
it isn't all wiped out. And that brings us to what you're talking about.
Yes.
If you choose, you could do something special like that to help humanity. In most situations, you're going to help your kids or your grandkids, but
Well, you find that it's there's a difficult stage in this kind of accumulation of assets, which is, and we're kind of lulled to sleep a little bit. We all take for granted and don't think about the money that we pay out in Social Security tax, both from our own pockets and what the our employers are paying in. We don't really look at that, but
right.
it's a pretty sizable amount of money each year. And that is supposed to guarantee a certain amount of income, or it's promised to give us some income in the future.
Hmm.
And then we have what you were talking about, the 401k world, where the employer is taking care of it for me, and I can contribute some of what I'm doing into that fund. And so that they're kind of lulled to sleep to think, well, maybe that's going to be enough for me to retire on and to have enough, that I can't outlive it. And that's where that 4% thing comes in, where they're saying if you take more than 4%, you're going to eat into your principal to the point where it's going to disappear in too short of time. So in this planning mix where there's some of this baked in concept, how do you get people to save more?
It's difficult. I mean, especially in inflationary environments and just a general, a lot of people are expecting less inflation, but that doesn't mean prices are going to go down. And the economic term, believe it or not, is sticky. Prices are sticky downward. They don't
Yes,
want to go down. They go up
they,
easily. They
yeah,
come down very, very reluctantly.
yeah.
So I guess, it all comes back to personal initiative, incentive, ambition, uh, intelligence, contacts,
Mhm.
how you, and dumb luck,
Do you
you
have any
know,
tools? Do you have any tools that you
to
use to do that to make people have dumb luck in a way?
well,
Uh,
understanding that, I mean, my dad told me when I started, I didn't have to pay anything to live at home, and I had no expenses at all.
well, that was
So
your
when
first
I
endowment. Your endowment was from
Yeah,
your
so
parents. Yeah,
my
yeah.
parents, choose your parents well. So when I went out and started working, and I actually developed a business. I had a lawn mowing business when I was 12,
Wow.
and he said, most people who have a business or who are working, they have some expenses. So your expense is going to be to put away 25% of what you make. You're going to give it to me, and I'm going to give it to my attorney, and he's going to invest it for you.
Okay.
And that's what happened with it. So I was sort of instructed and that you had to start thinking about the future and developing other streams of income than your own labor.
Hmm.
I was all about that as a kid growing up. My dad was a developer, and he built homes, he rented homes, he took back mortgages, he provided insurance to people, he had rental properties, he even owned a lumber yard so that the people he hired to build the houses, he'd make out from them as well. So he had 4 or 5 different sources of income. And when I got to maturity, which was I was a little late in getting there because I was not really that motivated in college and stuff. But by the time I got to 25 and I got my hands on what he had put away for me for, 13, 14 years,
Hmm.
he had been putting this away, and it was a sizable sum of money. And I was there and I finally, felt obligated or actually interested and excited about being able to manage this portfolio that I had. And
Hmm.
I was working in the pension investment department of a New York insurance company, not the New York Life, but a New York
Right.
company in their pension investment department. So I had a lot of input to the portfolio development stage.
Mhm.
And the thing that threw me most was the lack of emphasis on income production in the portfolios they managed for me as an employee and all my associates. They were chasing market value. They were chasing market value. And
Not
there was
producing income generally.
right, not producing a future cash flow or a portfolio of income purpose securities that the guy could actually take with him.
Yeah, and
And
that's a very interesting point because when people are doing that now, aren't they subject when they do finally start to convert that to income? Don't they have to give part of that to the government?
well, if they when they take it out of the 401k or the IRA, they actually take it out. Yes, everything is taxed. It's the principal and the interest. While it's earning inside the 401k, they don't pay any taxes at that time. And
Right.
when the 401k is converted into an IRA, unless they convert it to a Roth IRA, then they pay the taxes up front.
When
But
your
there's no
dad,
taxes.
but when your dad was putting that away for you, was he putting it away in a qualified plan?
There were no qualified plans
Yeah,
at that time. He was putting
uh,
it in, he was putting it in
prehistoric.
a brokerage account. I'm not even sure which. I think it
Yeah,
was a
so
small
yeah,
broker
in the
that
case where it's not qualified, you have a tax.
there'd be taxes. I had a social security number, and if
Mhm.
I generated enough income, somebody took care of paying my taxes.
Yeah. So that's why we're now trying to educate the public that they can do transactions where they're converting what is appreciated stock into trying to convert it to other forms of income because a lot of people own stock and it's true they grow it for the market value. The market value goes up and up and up and up. If it goes up and they're in a bed and if they have a bed, uh, you know, the tax rates have changed on capital gains. Who knows what they were going to be?
Yeah.
Then they can get hit with a pretty sizable sum. So we're encouraging people to look at charity as a way to make that transaction easier, obviously not taxed, and also create a tax deduction and get the income because the income is what we're looking to guarantee. That's one of the things that the social security devices do. They guarantee income while giving a tax deduction and avoiding taxes. And
Ah.
that's the lesson that we want the public to understand because just like they know what a 401k is, they also know the limitations of a 401k, or they may not even know they may not even know what they
Well,
do with
yeah.
a 401k.
Right.
They just know they
Okay.
got one. I
Right.
got a 401k. What is it? I have no idea. It's just
Okay.
401k.
So the premise is that instead of taking that money and spending it your own as you take it out, you would take a lump of your 401k, you would donate it, and
No, not a
then,
401k. You wouldn't
all
donate
right,
to 401k. You can do that under the new tax. There are some tax favored exchanges that you can do with a qualified plan, but it's limited.
mhm.
What I'm talking about is the money that is outside of the qualified plans,
Oh,
where you
okay.
have investment dollars, investment
Ah,
holdings outside the qualified, like you own real estate or you own a
yeah,
stock portfolio, but
yeah,
they're outside a qualified plan.
right.
When you want to convert those to produce more income than they're producing, and you don't want to have to go through the tax mill, and you would like to get a tax deduction to save on other taxes, then you would use these 664 devices.
664 to buy.
Yeah,
Now
like the
that's
Charitable.
something that's something, I come up against this every day with my coaching business,
Oh,
where people
interesting.
have huge positions in stock like Microsoft, Amazon,
Yeah,
Google,
yeah,
Exxon,
yeah,
Merck,
yeah.
Pfizer, and they've never had the profit taking discipline that I've had. So now here they are with these things that are yielding in some cases nothing and
Right.
others less than I can get them with closed end funds. And we have to sort of structure, well, we're going to reduce, we're going to take 10% a year or
Mhm.
or more depending on how close they are to retirement so that you can pay less. You pay a minimal amount of taxes each year, but you get the total down and you put it away and you're generating income with the closed end funds.
Right. So now,
So
if you
we
could convert,
now
let's assume for a second. I hate to interrupt you, but it's so
no, it's
exciting.
okay. I'm interested. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
when, if you have, let's say you have, you have a stock, you've been in love with it for years, and now you say, you know what? It's reached its, I'd like to get out of the stock. And I got this huge tax bite this year. And how am I going to do that? I don't want to own the stock. If I sell it, I'm going to have more taxes to pay. So they can take those shares of Merck and they can gift them to a 664 device and
Mhm.
they have either direct control over it, or they have a pre-arranged agreement with the pooled income fund as to how the income is going to come out and who it's going to come to, or from the trust where it's going to come out. It's all trusteed money, but they put the money into that trust. Now that trust can liquidate that money, liquidate that asset, that
Mhm.
stock, not pay any capital gains tax,
Right.
and the broker could take all of that money that's inside that device and put it into closed-end funds. Now, they also get a tax deduction for making that gift, and what they take out of the account, depending on what it is, if it's a pooled income fund, they can take out all the income that it produces.
Okay.
So,
So,
so what the thing that's missing is the tax and the ability to spend down the capital that's producing the income. In other words,
right.
they
Which
so
is,
which is
which
what you
is,
want.
which is exactly what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I could, it's an interesting thing that I could talk to people about.
Yeah, I think. Well, if I would
Uh,
suggest just enroll in the academy. There's a lot of stuff in there that you'll pick up. We're trying to create endowment engineers. We have a
well,
society of endowment engineers, and that's a
I,
new profession in a sense.
I'd rather coach your investment managers and how to use CAFs to really make big money on that money.
Absolutely, same way, same thing. We just want to. What the idea is that this is such a great tool. It's been used by the ultra wealthy for a long time. The wealthiest people in the country knew how to use this back in 1969, 1970, because their advisors understood it at that time, and the advisors they kept it kind of close to the vest. In fact, they don't teach this very much in any place in law school or teach it. It's not part of the CPA. It's out there, but nobody knows about it. So we want to get it. We want to bring it to light with 664, and that's the element that we're saying. If everybody knows what 401k is, they need to know what a 664 is. They need to know that it's okay. If somebody says, "I want you to join our 401k," they don't go, "Well, let me check with my advisors. I got to see if it's really good. Are you sure it's safe?" Nobody asks those questions because it's taken for granted that the 401k is sound. Well, the same thing's true with 664. They're both sections of the tax code, and one is a recipe for how you create a qualified plan for retirement for your employees, and the other one is how you reduce your taxes and increase your income using charity. They just need to know what it is and when to do it. So
So
anybody
how,
that has a tax problem,
yeah,
anybody that has a tax problem like a capital gains tax or is earning too much income or they got a big estate tax, they want to try and change that. These are the devices to use to do that. And you know who loves it the best? The government,
why? If they don't get
because
into,
because they created it in 1969. They saw the handwriting on the wall that the entitlement programs were going to have a problem because of the demographics, and they knew that they were going to have to replace that with something. And this is what they determined
but
to replace it with, to build the charitable sector and make the charitable sector responsible, the public responsible for building the charitable sector, and the charitable sector responsible for serving the public. Not you pay tax to the government, and the government supports a charity,
so
which is
how
what's
does
happening now.
the donor gets the income from the charity,
Yeah, the donor gets the income from the trust.
from the trust?
Yeah, it's
Then,
trustee money.
right.
Hmm.
So if he gets all of the money, how does that ever get to the hands of charity when he dies?
Gets all the income. When he dies,
He's
he
getting
gets
all
all
the
the income
income,
for life. He gets all the
but
income for life, and
they
then
get
when
the okay. Then charity gets
the remainder,
the death benefit.
the remainder.
So so if they were if the trustees used my methodology,
Mhm.
and we're making 10% on that money instead of much less, which is likely. I don't know what they're doing with the money, but there aren't too many people.
Well, whoever, whatever, that's the point. The point is anybody, whoever is their investment advisor,
Oh, the investment advisor can become the trustee?
the investment advisor becomes the investment advisor to the money.
Oh, you have to be a registered investment advisor to do that.
Yeah, a registered investment advisor, or you can, there are, I mean, you can have a life insurance license and an annuities license. You can use annuities in these things as well.
Oh, well, that,
But it's
that
not the
defeats the
this
purpose.
the idea here is that the control of the investment asset rests with the person's investment advisor. So if John Doe comes to me and says, "I have
Okay.
10,000 shares of Merck, I want to convert that to income producing to income. I don't want to pay capital gains tax on any tax deduction. I can use this device to do that. I
Yeah,
compare
yeah,
it
but
to
then the guy has no control over what the advisor uses as a investment vehicle. And that's the
if it's
flaw.
his own investment advisor.
Even his own investment advisor probably has never heard of closed-end
Oh,
funds.
that's a difference. That's a different issue. That's something you got to coach people on closed-end mutual
Right,
funds.
that's what I'm saying. So if
Yeah, I,
somebody's looking
yeah.
for a 666, they've got to find themselves an advisor that knows how to make income, not just chase market value. That's the distinction.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well,
All
one of the
right.
things we look at is the financial advisor's ability to do that. But they all, and some people have a different way of making the income, but whatever the way of making the income is, this is the way it works. A pooled income fund distributes all interest income, all dividend income, all net realized short-term capital gains, and 50% of net realized long-term capital gains.
Why just 50% of long-term cap?
Because you want to have some growth in the fund so that there's some hedge against inflation.
It's an interesting concept. I would love to be contacted by a 664 advisor to show him how to really make some money for people. But
Well, become familiar with the academy. I think it'd be a good thing for you to look at. Or trying to make it simple for people to get blueprints to do this, and you may be able to coach your own people to do that. I don't know, but the point is that the way that the funds get invested at the end of the day is controlled by the person who's making the contribution.
uh-huh.
So it never leaves their control. Who they use and how they do that, that's up to them. So,
That's interesting. I've had some major clients who would probably like to know about that. In fact, I have an appointment coming up with one of them.
are all closed-end funds long-term capital gains?
If you sell them, you can sell them for a long-term capital gain. Some of the income they produce can be long-term capital gains. Depends on the manager and which fund you have.
So some of them
Um,
could be short-term capital gains or long-term, depends on how they want how
behind
they want to invest it.
depends on how the investments go, but that's
Yeah,
inside, and the report that comes through the broker or to the trust will break that down.
yeah, on the
Okay.
1099 at the end of the year.
Yeah, on its
Yeah,
on its statement
perfect.
in there.
That's what we want to do. We want to spread the word. It's a very important
Yeah, I
part
mean,
of
I'd be happy to help
endowing
help
America.
help the cause to make that income, you know, first of all, income good for the client, and the capital gains portion. That's there. I emphasize the two streams of income. I really don't emphasize a lot of long-term gains, but there are closed-end funds they are called tax advantage funds, and in their operation, they go for the long-term gains. Where I'm more of a short-term gain producer, um, it's a trading environment, and
All right. Listen,
the
Steve, I think the potential is there for a lot of advisors to utilize this stuff. We certainly appreciate anybody who is writing anything about financial literacy, especially one that's as important as yours with regard to retirement money secrets and how to produce income and how to do it properly. And that's a coaching work. That's coaching work that you do for advisors, in particular.
I don't actually get called on by most advisors because there's one big flaw in the ointment when it comes to advisors. Advisors get paid on the assets under management, and that's something that they need. They grow it. That's what they're all about, is making that grow. And they do that in the stock market because that's more likely to grow. The closed-end funds are themselves income focused. They're income producers. They're not looking to grow in value. The highest price closed-end fund I have in my 200 different closed-end funds is around $40.
Mhm.
And it's the trading range is a narrow range, so you're not going to, and they're interest rate sensitive. So the stock market going up, if interest rates are also going up, they're not going to go up that much. you know so
Right.
you're not going to get the big growth in market value that's going to produce the big numbers in salary or whatever fees for the advisor. So what you really need is an advisor who is as interested in producing something for charity as the donee is or as the donor is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's the whole point. I mean, if the investment advisor is doing their job, then they need to be doing what the,
Well,
you
you
know,
have to you have to explain to them what their job is, because they could be saying, "I'm
yeah,
I'm growing your market value.
yeah,
Isn't that enough?" And you have
yeah,
to say, "Well, I want income. I don't want market value. You
yeah,
have to generate income."
yeah. It's like, if you own 64,000 acres of land, raw land, and it's not producing any revenue, you can't eat dirt.
That's
So,
right.
yeah,
Exactly.
you have to have
You
income.
can't spend market value.
That's
So
correct. Yeah. So that's very interesting. I think there's a very important symbiotic relationship there between what you're doing and what we're doing, in the sense that it's income production. You can use tax-free or non-tax-free, but certain of the devices require that you cannot use tax-free in pooled income funds, for example.
yeah,
But you
tax
can
free
do
doesn't
that
make
in
a whole
charitable
lot of
trust.
sense because the amount of money, the production compared with, I mean, the safety is there, but
Yeah,
the comparative of corporate bonds and preferred stocks and the
yeah.
other types of closed of income production in closed-end funds is much higher.
Well, we definitely need to talk more because that's one of the things that we want to produce. We want to be able to help in the production of the income. We know that there's going to be a gift eventually. The charities know that. And one of the other things we do with our pooled income fund is we have some provision for current funding as well for charities. So it's attractive to nonprofit organizations to use our pooled income funds. And
Yeah.
we make them available as a turnkey kind of operation to nonprofits so that they get the benefit of not having to do administration and all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
we're attuned to what you're doing. I think that's really interesting. I wasn't familiar with that.
It was funny. If you were running a pension, you're a business and you have a pension, you know, and you have a bad year, and the market value of the assets in your program, even though they're supposed to be there to produce income for somebody's future,
Mhm.
and they come right from the company. They don't have to sell you an annuity. Some of them actually sent you the money themselves. Um, since those prices would go, they would value that pension, do their actuarial calculations, and say, you have to add more money because you don't have enough market value now to produce the income. So
Mhm.
this is a bad year for the business, and they're asking them for more money,
That's right.
which doesn't make any sense because the income produced by those assets didn't change just because the values went down. Okay. So on the other hand, when they have a great year and they're overflowing with profits and stuff, the value of the pension plan also went up. So
Mhm.
they don't have to put as much in it to
Mhm.
produce that level of income on this market value stupid valuation thing. So it was
Mhm.
totally back asswards. And that's why the pension system failed.
Right.
There really are no pensions anymore. That's why they went into the 401ks, because now it's just, we'll match the money you put in. We don't care about anything else. We
Yeah,
don't
but
have to
before it was
fund it.
defined benefit. The defined benefit plans are the
Right. The
ones that are the
defined
biggest
benefit plans
problem.
went
Yeah.
out of business
Yeah.
because of the market value valuation.
Yes. Yeah. And the volatility, the fluctuation is what is hard to deal with. And of course, they were not managed. But listen, they're not managing the Social Security very well either.
Well, they don't even have there is nothing to manage. It's
There's
all been
nothing
spent.
there,
There
So it's
is no
current,
trust fund.
current
There is
dollars supporting current people. Yeah,
right. There is no trust fund because they never invested it. And
yeah,
Congress got their greedy hands on it and they kept their hands on it.
yeah. We're just having a great conversation.
This is totally the most unique podcast and eye-opening and interesting one that I've been on in some time.
Well, same here. I'm glad to have
And
you as a guest.
I
Thank you very much for
thoroughly
joining
enjoyed it.
us. Thank you very much for joining us on Route 664, the Route to Human Kindness. And tune into the radio station at Route 664 Radio. We'll be with you again, same time, same station next week. Thanks a lot, Steve, for joining me today on Route 664.
My pleasure, Les. Very, very enlightening.